I watched my sister Emma pose in the bathroom mirror, her teeth perfect and gleaming white behind her new braces, the appointment that was supposed to be mine. Mom stood beside her, beaming with pride, adjusting the overhead lights so Emma could get the perfect selfie. Neither of them noticed me in the doorway, or maybe they just didn't care. You look so mature now, sweetheart, Mom cooed, touching Emma's shoulder. These braces are going to make such a difference for your modeling career. My modeling career, I thought bitterly. The one I'd built in my first life before they destroyed it. Because here's the thing nobody knew. I'd died at 23 and I'd been given a second chance. I remembered everything, every betrayal, every stolen opportunity, every time they chose Emma over me. And this moment, watching her wear my braces like a crown, was where it had all begun to fall apart the first time. Olivia, Mom said sharply, finally acknowledging my presence. Stop lurking, and before you start, we've already discussed this. Emma needed the braces more urgently. Her audition is next month. My audition was next week, I said quietly. Was? Dad's voice came from behind me. He squeezed past into the bathroom, barely glancing my way. The agency called. They're going with someone else, so you see? It all worked out. The braces would have been wasted on you anyway. In my first life, I'd cried for 3 days. I'd believed them when they said Emma's modeling career was more important, that my crooked teeth could wait. That family meant sacrifice. I'd waited 2 more years for braces, by which time my misaligned jaw had caused permanent damage. I'd watched Emma's career soar while I worked retail to pay for my own dental work, only to develop complications from delayed treatment. But that was the old Olivia, the one who died alone in a car accident at 23, broke and broken, while Emma and our parents celebrated at her Paris fashion show. This Olivia knew better. You're right, I said, backing out of the bathroom. It all worked out. Mom blinked, surprised by my easy agreement. Emma smirked at me in the mirror, a flash of triumph in her eyes that our parents couldn't see. She knew exactly what she'd done. She'd begged them to give her my appointment, had cried and manipulated until they'd caved like they always did. I returned to my room and pulled out my phone, scrolling to a number I'd memorized from my previous life, but never had the courage to call Dr. Patricia Chen, the orthodontist who'd later become famous for pioneering a revolutionary cosmetic dental technique. But right now, before her breakthrough, she was just a struggling practitioner looking for case studies. In my first life, Emma would meet Dr. Chen in 3 years and become one of her first veneer patients, launching both their careers simultaneously. The before and after photos of Emma's smile would go viral, landing her on magazine covers and talking shows. Not this time. Dr. Chen's office? A tired voice answered. Hi, my name is Olivia Morrison. I saw your advertisement about seeking candidates for a new cosmetic procedure. There was a pause. The veneer trial? Yes, but I should mention there's no guarantee. I'm 17, I have significant dental misalignment, and I'm willing to document everything, I interrupted. I also have connections to modeling agencies. A lie, but not for long. If your procedure works, I can give you the publicity you need. Another pause, longer this time, then, can you come in tomorrow for a consultation? I'll be there at 9. I hung up and opened my laptop, fingers flying across the keyboard. In my first life, I'd been too trusting, too passive. I'd let them walk all over me because I thought that's what good daughters did. But I'd learned something in death. The only person who would save me was myself. I spent the next 6 hours researching everything I could about Dr. Chen's future technique, about the modeling industry, about the contacts Emma would eventually make. I downloaded every photo I could find of teenage models who'd broken through in the next 2 years. Girls currently unknown but about to explode into stardom. I studied their looks, their portfolios, their social media strategies. The house was silent when I finally closed my laptop at 2 a.m. I could hear Emma's soft snoring from the room next door. The larger room, the one with the better closet and the ensuite bathroom. My room in both lives. Let her have it, I thought. Let her have all of this for now. Because I knew what was coming. The abuse hadn't started overnight. Looking back through the lens of 2 lifetimes, I could see how it had built gradually, each small favoritism adding up to a mountain of neglect. I was the first daughter, born when Mom and Dad were still struggling. Mom's modeling career had never taken off, and she'd spent my early childhood bitter and resentful, taking jobs she hated to pay the bills while Dad built his business. Their marriage was rocky, money was tight, and I was there, a screaming reminder of all the dreams she'd had to postpone. Then Dad's business took off. Suddenly there was money, real money. And Mom got pregnant again at 35. A miracle baby they called Emma. A second chance at everything. Emma was born into wealth and adoration. She had the bedroom I'd begged for, the clothes I'd coveted, the attention I'd craved. And she was beautiful, objectively, undeniably beautiful in a way that I, with my too sharp chin and crooked teeth, was not. Olivia's more of a brain, Mom would say at parties, her hand resting possessively on Emma's shoulder. Emma got the looks. It's good they each have something. Except I wasn't allowed to be the brain either. When I brought home straight A's, Dad barely glanced at my report card. When Emma struggled with C's and D's, they hired expensive tutors and threw a celebration when she managed a B. Don't be selfish, Olivia, Mom snapped when I asked why my college fund was smaller than Emma's. Your sister needs more help than you do. You're smart. You'll figure it out. I did figure it out in my first life. I figured out how to take on debt, how to work 2 jobs while studying, how to survive on ramen and pride. And you know what I got for it? Nothing. Because while I was figuring it out, they were pouring money into Emma's modeling portfolio, Emma's headshots, Emma's acting classes, Emma's life. The worst part wasn't even the financial neglect. It was the emotional abandonment. I remembered the year I turned 15, how I'd tried so desperately to connect with Mom. I'd researched mother-daughter activities, had suggested spa days and shopping trips and cooking together. She'd been too busy every single time. But when Emma turned 13, Mom suddenly had all the time in the world for mani-pedis and lunch dates. I remembered my high school graduation where Dad took one photo of me and then spent the rest of the ceremony filming Emma, who was only there as my +1 and spent the whole time on her phone. I remembered the Christmas when I was 19 and Emma was 16, when I'd saved up for months to buy everyone thoughtful presents, and Emma had bought me a clearance bath set from CVS, still with the $3.99 sticker on it. Mom and Dad had laughed like it was charming, this evidence of how little Emma thought of me. But the moment everything truly changed, the moment that set the course for my first death, was the braces appointment they'd canceled. It seems small, maybe, in the grand scheme of abuse. It was just one appointment, just one sacrifice. Except it wasn't. I'd waited until 17 for orthodontic work because we couldn't afford it during my growing years. Years when it would have been easier and more effective. Then, suddenly, there was money when Emma needed them at 14. And when my appointment finally came, they canceled it without even asking me. In my first life, that moment broke something in me. It confirmed what I'd always suspected. I didn't matter, not really. I was the trial run, the practice child, the one they could afford to fail with because they'd get it right with Emma. I'd spent the next 6 years of my first life watching Emma's star rise while mine imploded. The delayed dental work led to TMJ disorder, causing chronic pain and headaches that tanked my grades. Without the braces, I missed the modeling opportunity that could have paid for college. I ended up at a state school on loans while Emma went to a private arts academy. And through it all, they kept taking from me to give to her. My part-time job money to cover Emma's portfolio updates. My spring break to drive Emma to auditions. My college graduation, which they skipped entirely because it fell on the same day as Emma's callback for a national commercial. The worst part? I'd let them. I'd actually believed their gaslighting that this was normal, that this was love, that family meant endless sacrifice without reciprocation. I died at 23 in a car accident, driving myself home from a double shift at a job I hated, too exhausted to stay awake at the wheel. I was alone. I'd been alone for years by then, pushed out of my own family to make room for Emma's expanding empire. And as I died, as the light faded and the pain overwhelmed me, all I could think was, I wish I'd fought back. Someone heard that wish. I woke up on my 17th birthday, 6 years before my death, 1 week before the braces appointment they would cancel. I'd been given something impossible, a second chance. A chance to rewrite everything, and I knew exactly what I had to do. I had to stop being their victim. I had to stop believing their lies. I had to save myself because no one else ever would. The knowledge of my first life was my superpower, my unfair advantage. I knew which investments would pay off, which trends would explode, which people would become important. But more than that, I knew their playbook. I knew every manipulation, every guilt trip, every way they would try to break me down. Not this time. This time, I would take everything they tried to give Emma and claim it for myself. This time, I would build the empire that should have been mine. This time, when they finally saw what they'd lost, it would be too late. And it would start with a smile. Dr. Chen's office was in a strip mall between a dry cleaner and a faux restaurant, nothing like the sleek medical suite she'd eventually moved to. I'd taken the bus alone. Mom hadn't even asked where I was going when I left at 8 a.m. Olivia Morrison? Dr. Chen was younger than I remembered from photos, maybe 30, with tired eyes but steady hands. Come in, tell me what you're looking for. Veneers, I said. I know it's unconventional for someone my age, but I've researched your technique. You're using a minimally invasive approach that preserves more of the natural tooth structure than traditional methods. Her eyebrows rose. You've done your homework. I have a genetic condition that affects my enamel, I lied smoothly, a lie I'd prepared carefully. Traditional braces would take years and potentially cause more damage, but your veneer method could correct both the cosmetic and functional issues in a fraction of the time. It was true, actually. I did have enamel hypoplasia, a fact no dentist had caught in my first life until it was too late. But I only knew about it because of the autopsy report I'd never lived to see, information I'd pieced together from overheard conversations in the afterlife or whatever liminal space I'd occupied between death and rebirth. Dr. Chen studied me for a long moment. The procedure is expensive, and you're right that it's unconventional for your age, though not inappropriate if medically indicated. Are your parents prepared for the investment? I'll pay for it myself, I said. I have money saved. Another lie. I had $487 in my bank account from birthday money and odd jobs. But I knew something Dr. Chen didn't. Her trial was about to lose its main sponsor due to a scandal that would break in 2 weeks. She'd be desperate for a photogenic candidate who could bring publicity. Olivia, the cost would be approximately $15,000. I can get you featured in Teen Vogue, I interrupted, and I can guarantee you'll have at least 3 other high-profile teen clients within 6 months of my treatment completion. She blinked. That's a bold claim. I know people, I said, which was true in a cosmic sense. And I know your technique is revolutionary. Just need the right face to prove it. I'm offering to be that face. I pulled out my phone and showed her the folder I'd prepared. Screenshots of modeling calls, casting notices, influencer trends. I'd even created a mock social media strategy showing how I'd document the procedure and tag her office. You're 17, she said slowly, and Emma Roberts was in a Neutrogena campaign at 15. Social media influencers are getting younger every year. The teen market is exploding. You can either wait until someone else pioneers teen cosmetic dentistry, or you can be the first. Dr. Chen leaned back in her chair, studying me with new appreciation. This was the thing people never understood about second chances. It wasn't just about knowing the future. It was about having the confidence to seize it. In my first life, I would never have had the audacity to walk into a dentist's office and propose a business partnership. But death had burned away my fear of rejection. I'll need to examine you first, she said finally. If your case is as medically indicated as you say, and if your bone structure is suitable for veneers, we can discuss an arrangement. I can't promise free treatment, but perhaps a significant reduction in exchange for documentation rights and testimonials. That works for me. The examination took 2 hours. X-rays, photographs, dental impressions, jaw measurements. Dr. Chen brought in her partner, Dr. James Rodriguez, a prosthodontist who'd eventually become one of the most sought-after cosmetic dentists in the country. The enamel hypoplasia is significant, Dr. Rodriguez said, studying my x-rays. And there's some jaw misalignment that's going to cause problems down the line. Traditional orthodontics could address the alignment, but not the enamel issue. Veneers could solve both. She's young, Dr. Chen said, old enough to make medical decisions with parental consent. And honestly, Patricia, this is a best-case scenario for your technique. If we can show full correction of both cosmetic and functional issues in a teen patient, with proper documentation and follow-up, it could be the proof of concept we need. They discussed technical details over my head for another 10 minutes before Dr. Out. Chen turned back to me. Here's my offer, she said. We'll do the full procedure, preparation, veneers, any necessary jaw adjustment for $5,000 payable in installments. In exchange, you agree to comprehensive before and after documentation, testimonials, and promotion of our practice through your social media and any modeling work you book in the next 2 years. You'll need parental consent since you're a minor. $5,000 I didn't have. But I knew 3 things. First, my grandfather, Dad's father, whom Dad had cut off years ago over a business dispute, was sitting on a fortune and no heirs he cared about after being estranged from his only son. Second, he was about to be diagnosed with terminal cancer and had approximately 8 months to live. Third, he desperately wanted to reconnect with his grandchildren before he died. In my first life, I'd never known about him until after his death, when his lawyer had tried to find us. Dad had intercepted the communication and hidden it, not wanting to split any inheritance with Emma and me. By the time I found out, it was too late. Not this time. I'll have the money in 2 weeks, I said confidently, and I'll get the parental consent. Dr. Chen and Dr. Rodriguez exchanged glances. All right, Dr. Chen said, we'll schedule you for preparation in 3 weeks. That gives you time to arrange everything. But Olivia, this is a serious medical procedure. Make sure you understand what you're committing to. I do, I said. Believe me, I do. I left the office with my head high and my phone already dialing a number I'd found in my first life's memories. The law office of Harold Chen, no relation. My grandfather's estate attorney. Time to collect what was rightfully mine. Finding my grandfather turned out to be easier than I'd expected. He was living in a nursing home in Connecticut, just 2 hours away by train. Close enough that Dad's refusal to visit was clearly deliberate rather than practical. I took the train on Saturday, telling my parents I was studying at the library. They didn't even look up from their conversation about Emma's upcoming audition. The nursing home was nice. Expensive nice, with actual paintings on the walls and staff who smiled like they meant it. I found my grandfather in the sunroom, a thin man with Dad's jawline and shrewd eyes that missed nothing. Can I help you? He asked when I approached. Hi, Grandpa, I said. I'm Olivia, your granddaughter. His face went through a series of expressions: shock, hope, suspicion, and finally tears. Olivia, he whispered. Thomas's daughter. My God, you're grown. Does he know you're here? No, sitting down beside him, and I'd appreciate if you didn't tell him yet. I need to talk to you first. Over the next hour, I told him a carefully edited version of the truth. How Dad had cut him out of our lives, how I'd only recently learned about him, how I'd discovered the estrangement was based on lies Dad had told us. I didn't mention the abuse, not yet. I needed him to trust me first, to see me as a person rather than a tool for reconciliation. Your father was always stubborn, Grandpa said sadly. We disagreed about the business. He wanted to take it in a direction I thought was unethical. We fought. He left. I thought he'd come back eventually. I didn't realize he'd poison you children against me. He told us you didn't want anything to do with us. I said, which was true. That's exactly what Dad had said in my first life. But I found your letters, the ones he never gave us. Another truth. In my first life, while cleaning out Dad's office after his eventual bankruptcy, I'd found a box of letters from my grandfather. Birthday cards, Christmas gifts, attempts at reconciliation, all marked return to sender in Dad's handwriting. Grandpa didn't need to know I'd found them in a future that no longer existed. His hands shook. I wrote every year on your birthdays. Yours and Emma's. I sent gifts. I tried to call. I know, I said softly, and I'm here now. I want to know you, Grandpa. I want you in my life. however much time we have. I didn't mention the cancer. He'd find out in 2 months, according to my memories. But I could see it already, the weight loss, the fatigue, the way he moved carefully as if pain lurked in every gesture. We talked for 3 hours. I told him about school, about my interests, carefully edited to avoid mentioning things that hadn't happened yet, about my dreams. He told me about his business, about my grandmother who'd passed away years ago, about the son he'd lost to pride and stubbornness. "Olivia," he said as I was preparing to leave, "why did you really come? Not that I'm not grateful, I am, more than you know. But you're 17, you could have waited, could have come with your parents' permission. Why now, alone?" I considered lying, but something in his eyes told me he'd respect the truth more. "Because I need help," I said. "And because I think you need family, we can help each other." "What kind of help?" "The financial kind," I admitted. "I have an opportunity, a medical procedure that could change my life. But it costs money my parents won't spend on me. I'm asking for a loan. I'll pay you back." "A medical procedure?" His expression sharpened with concern. "Are you sick? Does Thomas know?" "It's dental work. Cosmetic, but also functional. I have enamel hypoplasia and jaw misalignment. In a few years, it could cause serious problems. There's a new technique that could fix everything, but it costs $5,000, and my parents used my medical fund for Emma's braces instead." I watched his face darken. "They what?" "It's fine," I said quickly, though it wasn't. "Emma's the pretty one. She's got modeling potential. It made sense to invest in her appearance. I'm asking if you'll invest in mine. Swear I'll pay you back. I'll get a job. Stop," he said firmly. "Just stop. You're my granddaughter, Olivia. You don't need to justify your worth to me, and you certainly don't need to beg for necessary medical care. Of course I'll help you. I'll give you the money, not loan it. And I want to see you regularly from now on. Can you do that?" I hugged him, tears streaming down my face. Some of them were calculated. I knew how much he needed to feel needed, how desperate he was for family. But most of them were real because in my first life, I'd never known this kind of unconditional support existed. "Every Saturday," I promised. "I'll come every Saturday." "Good," he said gruffly, wiping his own eyes. "Now let's talk about these parents of yours and why they're neglecting my granddaughter's medical needs." By the time I left, I had a check for $10,000 for the procedure and any additional costs, and a standing invitation to visit anytime. I also had something more valuable, an ally who actually cared about my well-being. The train ride home felt like flying. Getting parental consent turned out to be shockingly easy, which tells you everything about how little they cared. "A dental procedure?" Mom said distractedly, signing the form I'd put in front of her without reading it. She was on the phone with Emma's agent discussing audition logistics. "Fine, whatever, just don't expect us to pay for it." "I'm covering it myself," I said. "Good. Emma's headshots cost $3,000, and we've got her portfolio session next week. Close the door on your way out." I closed the door and stared at the signed consent form in my hands. In my first life, this moment would have destroyed me. The casual dismissal, the blatant favoritism, the way my own mother couldn't be bothered to look up from her phone to ask what procedure I was having or why. But in this life, I felt only cold satisfaction. She'd signed away her last chance to interfere with my plans. She'd chosen Emma again, just like always, and in doing so, she'd set me free. Dad was equally disinterested when I asked him to co-sign. "What kind of procedure?" he asked, eyes still on his laptop. "Veneers. Dr. Patricia Chen is a specialist in—" "Fine, whatever. Just make sure it doesn't interfere with Emma's schedule. She needs rides to her auditions this month." "Actually, I'm not available to drive Emma anymore," I said. "I've got my own appointments. She can take the bus." He looked up then, frowning. "Don't be selfish, Olivia. Your sister's career is taking off. We all need to support her." "I am supporting her," I said evenly, "by taking care of my own medical needs so I'm not a burden on the family resources. You said yourself I should handle my own problems." I could see him trying to find fault in my logic and failing. Finally, he just grunted and scrawled his signature on the form. "Just stay out of Emma's way." "Don't worry," I said. "I will." I left his office with both signatures secured and a dark satisfaction growing in my chest. They'd dismissed me so completely that they'd never thought to ask where I was getting the money, what the procedure actually entailed, or why a 17-year-old suddenly needed veneers. They didn't know about Grandpa. They didn't know about Dr. Chen. They didn't know anything because they didn't care to ask. And that would be their downfall. The next 3 weeks passed in a blur of preparation. I visited Grandpa every Saturday, building a genuine relationship with him while also carefully mentioning Emma's modeling aspirations and my parents' financial decisions. I didn't badmouth them directly. I didn't need to. The facts spoke for themselves. "They canceled your braces appointment for her?" Grandpa asked, outraged, during my second visit. "It's fine," I said, maintaining my diplomatic facade. "Emma's audition was important. More important than your health? More important than keeping their word to you?" "They think so," I said simply, "but it's always been this way. Emma's the golden child. I'm the one who's supposed to figure things out on my own." I could see the anger building in him, the grandfather's instinct to protect. But I also planted seeds of doubt about reaching out to Dad directly. "He's proud," I said. "If you try to confront him about me, he'll just pull away again. And I can't lose contact with you, Grandpa. You're the only family I have who actually sees me." It was manipulative. I knew it, but it was also true. And more importantly, it was necessary. I needed Grandpa to stay my secret weapon, my ace in the hole for when I needed him most. I also started building my social media presence. In my first life, I'd been invisible online. A few dozen followers, sporadic posts, nothing that mattered. But this time, I knew exactly what would work. I created a TikTok account and started posting content about my dental journey. The decision to get veneers, the research process, the excitement and nervousness. I was authentic, vulnerable, and strategic. I used hashtags that would explode in popularity 6 months later. I engaged with micro-influencers who would become major players. Within 2 weeks, I had 5,000 followers. Not viral yet, but growing steadily, Emma noticed, of course. "Why are you suddenly posting so much?" she asked one night, barging into my room without knocking. "Are you trying to copy me?" "I'm documenting my dental procedure," I said. "Dr. Chen asked me to build an audience for promotional purposes." "What dental procedure? You're getting braces?" "Veneers, actually." Her face went through several expressions: confusion, disbelief, and finally, anger. "Mom and Dad are paying for veneers? They said we couldn't afford braces for both of us." "They're not paying," I said calmly. "I am." "With what money?" "None of your business." She stared at me, and I could see the wheels turning. Emma wasn't stupid, just spoiled. She could sense that something had shifted, that I was suddenly playing a game she didn't understand. "You're being weird," she said finally. "Okay," I replied, returning my attention to my phone. She lingered for another moment, then left, slamming my door hard enough to rattle the frame. Let her be confused. Let her sense the threat without understanding it. In chess, the best moves are the ones your opponent sees too late to counter, and I was playing the longest game of my life. The veneer procedure took 3 appointments over the course of a month. Dr. Chen documented everything: the preparation, the temporary veneers, the final placement. Her photographer captured angles I suggested, angles I knew would look stunning on social media. The transformation was remarkable. Not just cosmetically, though that was dramatic enough. My crooked, stained teeth became a perfect, camera-ready smile. But more than that, the veneers corrected the bite issues that would have plagued me for life. My jaw aligned properly. The headaches I'd already started experiencing, ghostly echoes from my first life, vanished. I documented everything on TikTok and Instagram, posting real-time updates that were funny, vulnerable, and inspirational. I talked about the fear of dental work, the excitement of transformation, the journey of investing in yourself. I tagged Dr. Chen religiously and responded to every comment. My followers exploded to 50,000, then 100,000. Teen girls loved the authenticity. Parents appreciated the educational content about dental health. and Dr. Chen got more consultation requests than she could handle. "You were right," she told me during my final appointment. "You've brought us more business in a month than we generated all last year. We're already booked solid through the next 6 months with clients who specifically cited your post as inspiration." "I told you I knew people," I said, smiling, carefully because my mouth was still sensitive. In the mirror. The person looking back at me was almost unrecognizable from my first life. Confident, polished, ready. "There's something else," Dr. Rodriguez said, pulling up a chair. "We've been contacted by a major dental health company. They want to sponsor a campaign about teen dental awareness, and they specifically asked if you'd be interested in being their spokesperson. It would be a paid partnership, not huge money, but respectable for your age. 15,000 for a 6-month contract plus product." My heart raced. This hadn't happened in my first life. Emma had been Dr. Chen's success story, not me. But I'd taken that opportunity and run with it, and now everything was shifting, kaleidoscoping into new patterns. "I'm interested, Maita," I said. "We'd need parental consent again since you're a minor," Dr. Chen said. "Well, but Olivia, this is a real opportunity. The campaign launches in 2 months, right as back-to-school season hits. Your face would be in magazines, on social media, maybe even on TV." My face, not Emma's. Mine. "Send me the contracts," I said. "I'll handle the permissions." I took the train to see Grandpa that afternoon, showing him my new smile first and the contract second. "You look beautiful," he said, tears in his eyes. "But you were always beautiful, Olivia. Now you just feel it." He was right. The veneers had changed my face, yes, but they'd changed my soul more. Every time I smiled and saw perfection looking back, I remembered that I'd earned this. I'd fought for it, I'd refused to accept their scraps and built my own feast. "I need you to co-sign this," I said, showing him the spokesperson contract. "My parents will sign if you ask them to, but I need you to be the guarantor to make sure they can't sabotage it." Grandpa read through the contract carefully, his businessman instincts taking over. "This is legitimate," he said, "and very favorable terms for someone your age. But Olivia, why haven't you told your parents about any of this? About me, about the veneers, about this contract?" "Because they'd take it away and give it to Emma," I said simply. "They've taken everything else. This is mine, Grandpa. I need it to stay mine." His expression darkened. "I think it's time I had a conversation with my son." "Not yet," I said quickly. "Please, I need a few more months. Let me build something they can't tear down. Then you can ride in like the cavalry." He studied me for a long moment. "You're not telling me everything." "No, I agreed. "But I'm telling you the truth. They've neglected me my entire life in favor of Emma. This is my chance to change that. Please don't take it from me by forcing a confrontation before I'm ready." "I don't like it," he said, "but I'll trust you. On one condition, you keep coming to visit me, every week. I want to see with my own eyes that you're safe." "I promise," I said. He signed the contract as guarantor, and I took it home in an envelope that felt like it held the future itself. Getting my parents to co-sign the spokesperson contract was easier than I'd expected, mainly because I'd learned to frame things properly. "Emma's agent recommended me for something," I told Mom casually, sliding the papers across the kitchen counter. "It's a dental awareness campaign. Small-time stuff, but they need someone to represent teen oral health. The agent said it might be good for Emma's brand if her sister also had some recognition. Makes the family look more legitimate." It was all lies, but Mom perked up at the mention of Emma's agent and brand building. "How much does it pay?" she asked. 15,000 for 6 months, but most of that will go to taxes and my college fund," I added quickly. "I'm not expecting anything for personal use." The mention of not being a financial burden made her sign without reading further. Dad did the same when I mentioned it was good for the family brand. Neither of them asked to see my new smile. Neither noticed that I'd spent the last month transforming myself. They were too busy with Emma's latest audition results. She'd booked a regional commercial, her biggest success yet, and the celebration had consumed all their attention. Perfect. I submitted the signed contracts and went to my room where I spent the next 3 hours planning my next moves. Because the Veneers and the spokesperson deal were just the beginning. In my first life, I'd watched Emma's career from the sidelines, never understanding the mechanics of her success. But now, with the gift of foresight and my new platform, I could see the path clearly. The dental health campaign would launch in 8 weeks, right before school started. That gave me 2 months to build my social media following even further, to establish myself as someone worth watching. I'd already identified the modeling agency that would scout Emma in my first life. Except this time, I'd make sure they saw me first. I'd also started documenting my fitness journey, my skincare routine, my fashion choices, all calibrated to the aesthetic that would dominate in the next 2 years. I was building a brand before Emma even understood what a brand was. And the beautiful thing? My parents had no idea. They were so focused on Emma's traditional modeling route, agencies, auditions, portfolios, that they didn't see the social media revolution coming. They didn't understand that in 2 years, Instagram influencers would be worth more than traditional models, that authenticity would trump perfection, that the girls building audiences now would be the ones getting the major deals later. I understood. I'd lived through it once already. Emma knocked on my door that night, entering without waiting for permission as usual. "Mom said you got some kind of contract," she said, trying to sound casual. "What is it?" "A dental awareness campaign," I said, not looking up from my laptop. "Pretty boring stuff." "Can I see it?" "Why?" "Just curious." I pulled up the contract on my screen and turned the laptop toward her. I watched her eyes scan the page, widening when she saw the payment terms. $15,000, she said. "For what?" "Social media posts, some print ads, maybe a TV commercial. It's not a big deal." "That's more than I made on my commercial," she said, and there was something ugly in her voice. "Your commercial will lead to bigger things," I said soothingly. "This is just dental health. You're doing real modeling." I could see her struggling between jealousy and superiority. She wanted to be upset about my success, but she also didn't want to admit that a dental health campaign was worth being jealous over. "I guess," she said finally. "But don't get cocky about it. You got lucky." "I know," I said, smiling my perfect new smile. "So lucky." She left, and I returned to my planning. Let her think it was luck. Let her underestimate me just like everyone else did. They'd all learn the truth soon enough. The spokesperson campaign launched in September, right as I started my senior year of high school. Suddenly, my face was everywhere. On Instagram ads, in teen magazines, on posters in dentist offices across the country. The tagline was "Smile with Confidence," and I was the face of that confidence. My social media following exploded to 500,000. The dental health company loved me because I was authentic and engaging. Teen girls loved me because I talked openly about insecurity and transformation. Parents loved me because I promoted good health habits, and I leveraged every single follower. I started getting contacted by small brands wanting to send me products. I accepted the ones I knew would become huge: a sustainable fashion line that would blow up next year, an indie makeup brand that would get acquired by Estee Lauder, a vitamin company that would become a teen wellness empire. Every product I promoted sold out within hours. Every brand I touched turned to gold because I knew which ones would succeed and I knew how to frame them for maximum impact. The modeling agency that had scouted Emma in my first life reached out to me in October. "We've been following your social media presence," the agent Diane said over coffee. "You have something special. Not just your look, which is fantastic, but your engagement with your audience. That's the future of this industry, Olivia. Models who are also influencers, who bring their own built-in audience to every campaign." "I'm interested," I said. "But I need creative control over what I promote. I'm not interested in being a blank canvas. I want to build a brand that means something." In my first life, Emma had signed with this agency and let them control everything. She'd done whatever campaigns they pushed, said yes to every opportunity, and burned out spectacularly by 21. Not me. I knew my worth. "That's refreshing," Diane said. "Most 17-year-olds are just eager to sign anything. Tell me what you're looking for." We negotiated for 2 hours. I walked away with a contract that gave me approval rights over all campaigns, a 70-30 revenue split in my favor, unheard of for a new model, and a guarantee that I wouldn't be pushed into anything that didn't align with my brand values. I also walked away with a shoot scheduled for Teen Vogue's Faces to Watch issue, the exact shoot Emma had done in my first life. Except this time, when the issue came out in December, it would be my face on the cover. My story about transformation and self-investment, my perfect smile on newsstands everywhere. The funny thing was, my parents still barely noticed. "That's nice, dear," Mom said when I told her about the Teen Vogue cover. She was helping Emma prepare for an audition for a local department store catalog. "Don't let it go to your head. Emma's got the real talent." "Of course," I said. Dad was slightly more interested, mainly because he saw dollar signs. "How much are they paying you?" "This particular shoot is for exposure, not payment," I said, but my agent expects it to lead to paid campaigns. "Make sure you're not being taken advantage of us," he said, already turning back to his phone. Emma's agent always negotiates hard for her. I didn't mention that I'd negotiated harder than Emma's agent ever had, or that I was already making more money than Emma from my social media partnerships. They'd find out eventually, but I wanted the revelation to be as dramatic as possible. I wanted them to wake up one day and realize they'd bet on the wrong daughter. Grandpa, on the other hand, was thrilled. "Teen Vogue," he exclaimed during our Saturday visit. "Olivia, that's incredible. Have you told your parents?" "They know," I said. "They're happy for me." A lie, but a kind one. "I'm so proud of you," he said, squeezing my hand. "You've done all this yourself. Built something from nothing. That's the Morrison spirit. The real Morrison spirit. Not whatever your father's become." "Speaking of Dad," I said carefully, "have you thought about reaching out to him?" "I've thought about it," Grandpa said. "But you asked me to wait. Are you ready for that confrontation now?" "Almost," I said. "After the Teen Vogue issue comes out, after Christmas. I want to have everything in place first." "Everything for what?" "For when they realize what they lost," I said simply. Grandpa studied me with sharp eyes. "You're planning something." "I'm protecting myself," I corrected, but there's a difference. "Is there?" I didn't answer, and he didn't push. But I could see him thinking, calculating, beginning to understand that his granddaughter was playing a much longer game than anyone realized. Good. I'd need him fully on my side for what came next. The Teen Vogue issue hit newsstands 2 weeks before Christmas, and that's when everything exploded. My face, smiling, confident, radiant, stared out from magazine racks across the country. The article inside was titled, "Investing in Yourself: How One Teen's Dental Journey Became a Movement," and it chronicled my entire story. The enamel hypoplasia, the decision to get veneers, the social media presence, the spokesperson deal. Within hours of the issue dropping, my Instagram gained 200,000 followers. My TikTok went viral with people stitching the magazine cover and talking about my glow up. The dental health company called to say they wanted to extend my contract and triple my payment. And then the modeling offers started rolling in. Real offers. National campaigns, fashion brands that Emma had auditioned for and been rejected from. They didn't want her anymore. They wanted me. They wanted the girl with 700,000 followers and a story of self-transformation. They wanted the authenticity I'd cultivated so carefully. My phone rang nonstop. Diane, my agent, was ecstatic. "This is unprecedented," she said. "We've got 4 major campaigns wanting to book you for spring. This is the kind of momentum that launches careers, Olivia. Real careers." I took the 3 best offers and negotiated hard on the terms. By Christmas Eve, I had contracts worth over $200,000 collectively, scheduled to shoot over my winter and spring breaks. And that's when my parents finally noticed me. "Olivia," Mom said, cornering me in the kitchen on Christmas Eve morning, "we need to talk about this magazine thing." "What about it?" I asked, pulling my breakfast out of the microwave. You didn't tell us it was going to be the cover, she said. You said it was just a small feature. I said it was a shoot for their Faces to Watch issue, I corrected. I guess they liked the photos enough to use one for the cover. Emma's been trying to get into Teen Vogue for 2 years, Mom said. And there it was, the resentment I'd been waiting for. Her agent has submitted her multiple times. That's unfortunate, I said neutrally. Is it? Mom's voice sharpened. Or did you deliberately go behind her back? Did you use her agent connections to steal her opportunities? I turned to face her fully, and I let her see the coldness in my eyes. I have my own agent, Mom, my own connections. I built them myself, just like I paid for my own dental work, built my own social media following, and negotiated my own contracts. I didn't steal anything from Emma. I created my own path. You should have discussed this with us, she said. We're a family. Emma's career should come first. She's been working toward this longer. Emma's career does come first, I said. It always has. That's exactly why I had to build my own. Don't be dramatic. Where were you when I needed braces? I interrupted. Wait, where were you when I had to figure out my own medical care? Where were you for any of it? We gave you permission. After I'd already arranged everything myself. You signed the forms without even reading them, Mom. You couldn't be bothered to ask what I was doing or why. You were too busy with Emma. That's not fair. It's completely fair, I said, and you know it. You've been too busy with Emma my entire life. Well, congratulations. You focused all your attention on her, and I still managed to succeed anyway. That must really bother you. Mom's face flushed red. How dare you speak to me like that after everything we've done for you? What have you done for me? I asked. Specifically, tell me one thing you've sacrificed for me the way you've sacrificed for Emma. One opportunity you've given me that wasn't a hand-me-down from her. One time you chose me first. She opened her mouth, closed it, opened it again. We've given you a home, food, education, the bare legal minimum required to avoid child neglect charges, I said. Congratulations on meeting that low bar. Olivia Grace Morrison? My name's on the cover of Teen Vogue, I said. Not hers, mine. And it's going to stay that way. I walked out of the kitchen, leaving her standing there with her mouth open. Dad cornered me next in the hallway outside my room. Your mother's upset, he said. I noticed. You need to apologize. This competitive thing between you and Emma needs to stop. I laughed. I actually laughed. Competitive? Dad, there's no competition. A competition requires two people playing the same game. Emma's been playing with a stacked deck her entire life, and I've been playing with nothing. The fact that I'm winning anyway isn't competitive. It's impressive. Winning? His voice rose. This isn't a game, Olivia. This is family. Is it? I asked. Because it hasn't felt like family for 17 years. It's felt like Emma's support system, and I just happen to live in the same house. That's not true. When's my birthday, Dad? He blinked. What? My birthday. What day is it? October 15th, he guessed. 17th, I said. But close. You only missed by 2 days. Want to try Emma's? I bet you know that one. This is ridiculous. August 3rd, I said. You've never missed hers, not once. You threw her a party at that expensive restaurant this year, spent $3,000 on it. For my birthday, Mom gave me $50 and told me to take myself out somewhere nice. We're not having this conversation. You're right, I said. We're not. Because it doesn't matter anymore. I don't need you to remember my birthday or prioritize my career or give a damn about me. I've got everything I need without you. I shut my bedroom door in his face and locked it. Emma tried next, bursting into my room after picking the lock, a skill she'd learned specifically to invade my privacy. You're ruining everything, she screamed. That was supposed to be my cover. My agent submitted me for that exact shoot. And they chose me instead, I said calmly, not looking up from my phone. That's how the industry works, Emma. They pick the best candidate. You sabotaged me. You used your social media following to manipulate them. I used my social media following to demonstrate my value, I corrected. Something you could do too if you put in the work. But you won't because you expect everything to be handed to you. Mom and Dad work hard to support my career. Mom and Dad have spent over $50,000 on your career in the last 3 years, I said, finally looking at her. I've spent $5,000 of my own money, which I earned myself, and I'm already more successful than you. What does that tell you? Her face crumpled, and for a moment I saw past the spoiled exterior to the insecure girl beneath. Emma had been given everything, but she'd never had to earn anything, and deep down she knew her success was hollow. You're my sister, she said, tears streaming down her face. You're supposed to support me, not compete with me. I did support you, I said quietly. For 17 years, I supported you by staying small, staying invisible, staying out of your way. I gave up my braces appointment for you. I drove you to auditions. I celebrated your successes while you ignored mine, but I'm done supporting you at my own expense, Emma. You'll have to learn to stand on your own. I hate you, she whispered. I know, I said. But I stopped caring what you think about me the day you took my braces appointment and didn't even say thank you. She ran from my room sobbing, and I heard her door slam down the hall. I should have felt guilty. In my first life, I would have felt crushing guilt, would have apologized immediately, would have made myself smaller to restore peace. But in this life, I felt only relief. I'd finally said what I'd needed to say for 17 years. I'd finally stood up for myself, and I was just getting started. Christmas was tense. We opened presents in near silence. Emma got a new laptop, professional camera equipment, and an envelope with a check for $5,000 for career expenses. I got a sweater from Target and a generic gift card. I didn't care. I'd bought myself everything I needed with my own money. Grandpa's gift arrived by courier that afternoon, an envelope containing a letter and a check. Dear Olivia, the letter read, I'm so proud of the young woman you've become. You've accomplished more in 6 months than most people do in a lifetime, and you did it all yourself. This check is not a gift, it's an investment. Use it to continue building your empire, and remember, you're never alone anymore. Love, Grandpa. The check was for $50,000. I stared at it, tears blurring my vision. Not because of the money, though that was life-changing, but because someone finally believed in me. Someone finally saw my worth. I called him immediately. Grandpa, this is too much. It's not enough, he interrupted. I've got more money than I know what to do with, and no one to leave it to who deserves it. You've shown me that you know how to build something, Olivia. That money will grow in your hands. With your parents, it would just be wasted on enabling your sister's mediocrity. Grandpa, it's true and you know it. Emma's got talent, but she's got no drive. She expects everything to come easy. You, on the other hand, you've got the Morrison spirit. You build, you plan, you win. They're never going to forgive me for this, I said quietly. Do you care? I thought about that. In my first life, I would have cared desperately. I would have done anything for their approval, their love, their attention. But in this life? No, I said. I really don't. Good, Grandpa said. Because I think it's time I had that conversation with my son. Time someone held him accountable for how he's treated you. After New Year's, I said. Let me get through these winter break shoots first. I need to be untouchable before the confrontation. Untouchable? Successful enough that nothing they say or do can hurt my career, I explained. Right? Now they could still interfere with my contracts, could poison my relationships with brands, could sabotage me. But once I've completed these shoots and proved my value, I'll be too big to touch. Then you can tell Dad everything. You're terrifyingly smart, Grandpa said with admiration. I learned from the best, I said. You built your business from nothing. I'm just doing the same thing. Promise me you'll be careful, he said. Your father can be vindictive when he feels threatened. I promise, I said. I've got plans for that too. Because I did. I had plans for everything. The winter break shoots were incredible. I traveled to LA, New York, and Miami, working with photographers I'd only dreamed of meeting in my first life. Each campaign was perfect for my brand: a sustainable fashion line, a teen wellness company, and a tech brand targeting young women. I documented everything on social media, of course: behind the scenes footage, honest discussions about the modeling industry, tutorials on how to prepare for shoots. My following grew to over 1 million as I gave my audience unprecedented access to a world they usually only saw in glossy magazine pages. And with each shoot, each campaign, each viral post, I became more valuable, more untouchable. Diane called me on New Year's Eve. "I've got an offer for you," she said. "It's big, really big." "How big?" "A major fashion house wants you for their spring campaign. It's the same one that Emma auditioned for last month." My heart raced. "Which one?" "Bella Kuchar. They're launching a teen line and they want you as the face. It's a multi-year contract worth $500,000. Bella Kuchar. In my first life, Emma had booked this campaign at 19, and it had been the peak of her career. But she'd crashed hard afterward, the pressure and lack of preparation destroying her. But I was ready. I'd been ready since the moment I woke up in my 17-year-old body with 17 extra years of knowledge. "I want creative input on the campaigns," I said, "and I want to be able to promote the brand through my social media with my own voice, not scripted posts, authentic content." "They'll never agree." "They will," I said confidently, "because I'm not just offering them a model. I'm offering them 1 million followers who trust my taste. That's worth more than any traditional campaign." There was a pause. "Let me see what I can do." She called back within an hour. "They agreed to everything. They want you, Olivia. Just you. Not anyone else they've seen." Not Emma, she meant. They'd rejected Emma and chosen me. "Tell them yes," I said. I signed the Bella Couture contract on January 2nd, my 18th birthday, a birthday my parents forgot entirely, too busy with Emma's latest rejection and her resulting meltdown. I didn't care. I celebrated with Grandpa instead, showing him the contract with my signature on the bottom line. $500,000, he said, wonderingly. "At 18, you're going to be a millionaire before you can legally drink, Olivia." "I'm going to be a lot more than that," I said. "This is just the beginning." "What's next?" I smiled. Now I stop hiding. I'd been strategic about keeping my success relatively quiet at home. Sure, my parents knew I'd been working, but they didn't know the scope. They knew about the Teen Vogue cover, but not about the six-figure contracts. They knew I had social media followers, but not that I had over 1 million people watching my every move. They were about to find out. I called a family meeting on January 3rd, the day after I'd signed the Bella Couture deal. "What's this about?" Dad asked irritably. "Emma's got a call back this afternoon." "This won't take long," I said. "I just wanted to update everyone on my year." "Your year?" Mom frowned. "Olivia, if this is about the Teen Vogue thing again—" "It's about a lot of things," I said calmly. I opened my laptop and turned it toward them. "I've prepared a presentation." "A presentation?" Emma scoffed. "What is this, school?" "No, I said. It's business. Pay attention. You might learn something." The first slide showed my social media statistics. 1.2 million TikTok followers, 800,000 Instagram followers, 500,000 YouTube subscribers. Dad's eyes widened. "How did you—" "I built a brand," I said. Starting with the dental awareness campaign and growing from there. I posted consistently, engaged authentically, and provided value to my audience. Basic marketing principles. Next slide, my earnings breakdown. $15,000 from the dental campaign, $50,000 from social media partnerships, $200,000 from the winter shoot contracts, $500,000 from Bella Couture. "That's $765,000, I said. Before taxes and agent fees, of course, but still not bad for 6 months of work. The silence in the room was deafening. Mom's mouth hung open. Dad had gone pale. Emma looked like she might be sick. That's not possible, Mom finally said. Those numbers can't be real. They're very real, I said. I pulled out the Bella Couture contract and slid it across the table. Signed yesterday. 500,000 over 2 years, with options for renewal and bonuses based on campaign performance. They're announcing me as their new face next week. Bella Couture, Emma whispered. I auditioned for them. They said they were going in a different direction. They went with me, I said simply, along with about a dozen other brands that rejected you and chose me instead. Dad struggled for words. You're 18. You can't have made that much money. I'm 18 as of yesterday, actually, I said. Not that anyone remembered, and yes, I did make that much money. Would you like to see my bank statements? Yesterday was your birthday? Mom said weakly. It was. But don't worry, I celebrated with someone who actually cares about me. Olivia, Dad started. Let me finish, interrupted. There's more you need to know. Next slide. A photo of me with Grandpa taken during our last visit. I've been visiting Grandpa every week since September, I said. He's the one who loaned me the money for my veneers. He's also the one who co-signed my spokesperson contract when you two were too busy to read what you were signing. Dad stood up so fast his chair fell backward. You've been seeing my father behind my back? Behind your back? I laughed. Dad, I'm your daughter. I shouldn't have to sneak around to have a relationship with my grandfather. But you cut him out of our lives based on lies, so yeah, I went behind your back. And you know what? He's been more of a parent to me in 4 months than you've been in 18 years. How dare you? How dare I? My voice rose for the first time. How dare you? You canceled my braces appointment for Emma and didn't even tell me. You spent $50,000 on her career and gave me nothing. You forgot my 18th birthday because you were too busy managing her latest failure. You've neglected me, dismissed me, and marginalized me my entire life, and now you're angry because I found someone who actually values me? We've always valued you, Mom tried. Liar! I shouted. You've never valued me. I was the mistake child, the one who came too early and ruined your plans. Emma was the miracle baby, the one you actually wanted. I've known it my entire life, and you've never even tried to hide it. That's not true, Mom said, but her voice was weak. It is true, and everyone in this room knows it, I said. Emma knows it, don't you, Emma? You've spent your entire life getting everything you wanted because they loved you more. Emma's face crumpled. I didn't ask for that. Yes, you did, I said coldly. Every time you manipulated them into giving you something that was mine. Every time you cried until they chose you over me. Every time you smirked at me when they weren't looking because you knew you'd won again. You knew exactly what you were doing. Olivia, stop this, Dad said. This is cruel. This is honest, I corrected. For the first time in my life, I'm being completely honest. And you know what? It feels amazing. Final slide, my moving announcement. I'm moving out in 2 weeks, I said. I've rented an apartment in the city close to my agency. Grandpa helped me find it. I'll be removing my belongings and transferring my address, and I won't be coming back except to collect anything I've left behind. You can't move out, Mom said. You're only 18. I'm legally an adult with a net worth higher than this family's annual income, I said. I can do whatever I want, and what I want is to never live in this house again. You're being dramatic, Dad said, but I could see the panic in his eyes. You're upset about Emma's success and you're lashing out. Emma's success? I repeated incredulously. Dad, I just showed you that. I've made more money in 6 months than Emma has in 3 years of trying. I'm on the cover of Teen Vogue. I'm the face of Bella Couture. I have over 1 million people following my career. What success of Emma's am I jealous of exactly? You've got a bad attitude, Dad said. This fame is going to your head. No, I interrupted. Success is going to my head, and it feels wonderful. I spent 18 years being told I was less important than Emma, less talented, less worthy of investment. And I've proved you all wrong in the most public way possible. That's not a bad attitude, that's vindication. Grandpa will hear about this, Dad threatened. I'll tell him how you've been behaving. He already knows, I said. I tell him everything. Unlike you, he actually listens to me. He actually cares. And when he finds out how you've treated me, and he will because I'm going to tell him everything, I doubt you'll like his response. Is that a threat? Dad's face was red now. It's a prediction, I said, based on the fact that he's a good person who values family and you've failed spectacularly at both. I closed my laptop and stood up. That's everything I needed to say, I announced. I'll be in my room packing. Please don't bother me. I walked out of the kitchen with my head high, leaving behind 3 people who looked like I'd detonated a bomb in their midst. Which, in a way, I had. The next 2 weeks were ugly. Mom cried constantly, trying to guilt me into staying. Dad oscillated between anger and attempting to negotiate. Emma locked herself in her room and refused to speak to anyone. I packed methodically, separating my belongings from the family's. I took photos of everything I owned to document it, just in case they tried to claim I was stealing. I had a lawyer, retained with Grandpa's help, ready to intervene if they attempted to stop me. They didn't. They couldn't. I was 18, financially independent, and completely within my rights to leave. Grandpa helped me move on January 15th, hiring professional movers and coming along himself to supervise. "This is a nice place," he said, walking through my new 2-bedroom apartment in Manhattan. "Perfect for a young professional." "The second bedroom is for you," I said, "whenever you want to visit the city. And there's a building with medical facilities nearby for when you need more care." He froze. "What?" "I know about the cancer, Grandpa," I said gently. "You're getting weaker every week. You're going to need treatment soon, and when you do, I want you to have somewhere comfortable to recover. Somewhere that's not a nursing home." "How did you—" He trailed off, studying me with sharp eyes. "You're different, Olivia. You've always been different. Sometimes I look at you and I see someone much older looking back at me. Maybe I'm just mature for my age," I said lightly. "Maybe," he said. "Or maybe you've lived more than 18 years somehow. I don't know. I don't understand it. But I'm grateful for it because this version of you, the one who fights back, who builds empires, who takes no prisoners, she's magnificent." I hugged him, tears streaming down my face. "I'm grateful I found you in any lifetime." He held me tight. "I'm going to change my will," he said. "I want you to know that. Everything I have is going to you, not your father, you." "Grandpa, he doesn't deserve it," Grandpa said firmly. He said he threw away his family for pride and money. "You built yourself up from nothing despite his neglect. You deserve everything I can give you, Olivia, and I'm going to make sure you get it." "What about Emma?" I asked. "What about her? She's got your parents' full support and attention. Let her build something with that. You built something from scraps and became extraordinary. That's the Morrison spirit. That's who deserves to carry on the family name." I didn't argue. I couldn't argue because he was right. And because, selfishly, I wanted what he was offering. I wanted the security. I wanted the vindication. I wanted the family fortune that should have been split equally but would instead go entirely to the granddaughter who'd been neglected. "Thank you," I whispered. "Thank you," he said, "for finding me, for caring about me, for being the grandchild I always hoped for." We spent the rest of the day setting up my apartment. Grandpa bought me furniture, kitchen supplies, everything I needed to live independently. He met with his lawyers to start the will changes. He made sure I was completely set up for success. And then, on January 20th, he did what I'd been waiting for. He called my father and demanded a meeting. I wasn't there for the confrontation. Grandpa insisted I stay away. But he told me everything afterward. "I walked into their house and I didn't even recognize my own son," Grandpa said, his voice heavy with disappointment. "He's become everything I feared. Selfish, shallow, cruel." "What did you say to him?" I told him the truth. That I'd been seeing you for months. That you'd told me everything about how they treated you. That I was disgusted by his neglect of his own daughter. How did he react? He tried to deny it at first, claimed you were exaggerating, that you were spoiled and ungrateful. So I showed him your bank statements, your contracts, proof that you'd built a fortune while he'd been ignoring you, and you know what he said? What? He said, if she's so successful, why does she need us? Like it was justification. Like the fact that you survived his neglect somehow excused it. I felt cold rage settle in my chest. Even now, even faced with undeniable proof of his failures, Dad couldn't admit he'd been wrong. I told him he was no son of mine, Grandpa continued. I told him I was changing my will, that everything was going to you. He threatened to contest it. I told him to try. I've got years of documentation showing his neglect of you and his estrangement from me. No judge would side with him. What about Mom and Emma? Your mother cried. Emma screamed at me, called me a traitor for choosing you over her. As if loving one granddaughter means I can't love the other. Except I don't love Emma, not anymore. She's shown her true colors too many times. She's spoiled, entitled, and cruel, just like her parents. I wanted to love her, Olivia, but I can't love someone who treats my favorite grandchild like garbage. What happens now? Now we wait. Your father will probably try to reconcile, not because he loves you, but because he wants access to my money. Don't let him manipulate you. I won't, I promised. I'm done being manipulated. The Bella Kuchar campaign launched in February, and it was everything I'd hoped for. My face appeared on billboards in Times Square and magazines everywhere, on social media feeds across the world. The accompanying behind-the-scenes content I'd posted went viral, gaining millions of views. I became essentially famous. Not celebrity famous, but influencer famous. The kind where teenage girls recognized me on the street and asked for photos. The kind where my name trended on Twitter. The kind where every brand wanted to work with me. My net worth hit $2 million by March when you counted all my contracts, investments, and Grandpa's gifts. I was 18 years old and richer than my parents had ever been. And they tried to come crawling back, exactly as Grandpa had predicted. Dad called first in late February. Olivia, sweetheart, we need to talk. I think there's been some misunderstandings. There haven't been any misunderstandings, I said coldly. You neglected me for 18 years. I have witnesses, documentation, and a lifetime of evidence. The only misunderstanding was me thinking you'd ever change. I'm your father? Biologically, yes. Functionally, no. You're a sperm donor who happened to live in the same house. That's not a father. How can you be so cruel? After everything we've done for you, you've done nothing for me, I interrupted. I did everything for myself, despite you actively making my life harder. And now you want credit? Now you want a relationship? No. You had 18 years to be my father. That opportunity is gone. I hung up. Mom tried next, showing up at my apartment building with Emma in tow. Building security called up to ask if I wanted to see them. No, I said. They're not welcome here. If they continue to harass me, call the police. They left, but Mom sent emails. Dozens of emails, all saying variations of the same thing. I was ungrateful, I was cruel, I was tearing the family apart. I should be ashamed of myself. I forwarded every email to my lawyer, building a harassment case just in case I needed it. Emma tried a different approach. She went public. In a tearful TikTok video that went viral for all the wrong reasons, Emma claimed I'd stolen her career, that I'd manipulated our grandfather, that I was a terrible sister who'd abandoned the family out of jealousy. It backfired spectacularly. My followers came to my defense immediately, pointing out that Emma had been trying to model for years with minimal success while I'd built my career from scratch. People dug up old posts showing the blatant favoritism in our family, photos where Emma was centered and I was cropped out, captions that mentioned Emma by name while I was just Olivia in the background. The internet court of public opinion ruled in my favor decisively. And then Teen Vogue, the same magazine that had featured me on their cover, reached out for a follow-up interview. We'd like to do a story about your journey, the editor said. The real story, including your family situation. People are fascinated by your independence and success at such a young age. They want to know how you did it. You want me to talk about my family? If you're comfortable, we'd frame it as a story about overcoming adversity and building your own path. Very empowering. I thought about it. I could refuse, could keep the family drama private, or I could tell my story, the whole story, and let the world see what I'd overcome. I'll do it, I said. But I want editorial approval. I need to make sure my words aren't twisted. Done. The interview ran in April, just as the Bella Couture campaign was reaching peak saturation. It was titled Against All Odds: How Olivia Morrison Built a $1 Million Career Despite Family Neglect. I'd told them everything. The canceled braces appointment, the years of favoritism, the financial neglect, the emotional abandonment, the way I'd found my grandfather and built my career entirely through my own effort and determination. I was careful to be factual rather than emotional, to present events rather than opinions. I didn't call my parents' names or make wild accusations. I simply told the truth, and the truth was damning enough. The article went mega viral. Millions of people read it. Thousands shared their own stories of family favoritism and neglect. I became a symbol for everyone who'd ever been overlooked, underestimated, or dismissed by their own family. And the backlash against my family was swift and merciless. Emma's social media was flooded with criticism. People called her spoiled, entitled, complicit in my abuse. Her follower count dropped by half in a week. Brands that had been considering her for campaigns dropped her entirely. Mom and Dad's personal information was somehow leaked, not by me, but by internet sleuths who thought they were helping. They received thousands of angry messages. Dad's business took a hit as people refused to work with someone who'd neglected their child so blatantly. I should have felt vindicated. I did feel vindicated, but I also felt a tiny, unexpected twinge of guilt. Grandpa noticed during our weekly dinner. "You're troubled," he observed. "They're suffering." I said, "The internet has turned against them completely. Emma can't find work. Dad's business is struggling. Mom's having a breakdown." "And you feel guilty?" "A little," I admitted. "Is that wrong? They hurt me, but I didn't want to destroy them." "Olivia," Grandpa said gently, "you didn't destroy them. They destroyed themselves by treating you the way they did. The internet just held up a mirror and showed them who they really were. That's not your fault." "Maybe I should call them—" "No," he said firmly. "Listen to me. You're successful now, happy now, free now. They had 18 years to treat you right, and they chose not to. You don't owe them sympathy or forgiveness or anything else. You owe yourself protection and peace." "But they're still my family." "Family is the people who love and support you," Grandpa interrupted. "I'm your family. Your friends are your family. Those people who share your DNA, they're just people who failed you. Don't let guilt pull you back into their dysfunction." He was right. I knew he was right. But it was hard to shake the conditioning of 18 years, the belief that I owed them something, that I should sacrifice myself for family peace. Then Emma posted another video and all my guilt evaporated. "This is all Olivia's fault," she sobbed on camera. "She seduced our grandfather into giving her everything. She lied about us to make herself look good. She ruined our lives because she was jealous of me. She's evil, and I hope she's happy now that she's destroyed her own family." Evil. She'd called me evil for refusing to be their victim anymore. I responded with a video of my own. Calm, measured, factual. "Emma claims I seduced our grandfather," I said. "Our 78-year-old grandfather who I visit every week out of genuine love and affection. Emma claims I lied about my family. I have bank records, emails, text messages, and witnesses to verify every claim I've made. Emma claims I ruined her career. I built my own career from nothing, while she had every advantage and squandered it. The only thing I'm guilty of is refusing to stay small so she could feel big." That video got 10 million views in 24 hours. And that was the end of any chance of reconciliation. The bridge didn't just burn, it exploded into ash that scattered on the wind. Grandpa's cancer diagnosis came in May, exactly when my memories had predicted. Stage 4 pancreatic cancer, terminal, 6 to 8 months to live. He took it with remarkable calm. "I've had a good life," he said when I broke down crying at the news, "especially these last few months with you. I'm not afraid of dying, Olivia. I'm only sad that I won't see what you become." "I'll be nothing without you," I said. "That's not true. You were already extraordinary when I met you. I've just been lucky enough to watch you shine." He moved into my second bedroom the next week, and I became his primary caregiver. I hired nurses to help during the day while I worked, but I was there every night, holding his hand, listening to his stories, making sure he was comfortable. My career didn't slow down. If anything, it accelerated. The sympathy narrative, successful teen caring for dying grandfather while estranged from cruel family, made me even more popular. Brands loved the authentic content I posted about balancing work and caregiving. I got offers to write a book, do a speaking tour, start my own company. I accepted the book deal and started writing my memoir, Against All Odds: How I Built My Own Family. It was cathartic, pouring 18 years of pain and 6 months of triumph onto the page. My ghostwriter was amazed at my recall, at the specific details I could provide about events from years ago. She didn't know I was remembering 2 lifetimes, not one. The book sold at auction for $500,000, scheduled to release the following year. Emma tried to sell her own story. My sister destroyed our family, but no publisher would touch it. She'd become toxic, her name associated with entitlement and failure. Dad's business went bankrupt in July. He tried to reach out to Grandpa for a bailout, but Grandpa refused. "You made your choices," Grandpa told him over the phone with me listening in. "You chose pride over family. You chose Emma over Olivia. You chose cruelty over kindness. Now you get to live with those choices." "I'm your son." "No," Grandpa said, "Anapas. Olivia is my heir. You're just someone who shares my DNA. Goodbye, Thomas." He hung up and never spoke to Dad again. Mom tried a different approach. She attempted to leak negative stories about me to tabloids. Claims that I'd faked my family situation for publicity, that I was secretly still in contact with them, that I was a manipulative liar. None of the stories gained traction because I had too much proof: years of bank records, emails, text messages, witness testimony from teachers and friends who'd seen the favoritism firsthand. Every tabloid that tried to run with Mom's claims got flooded with contradictory evidence and threats of lawsuits. My legal team was aggressive and well-funded. I wasn't the neglected teenager anymore. I was a millionaire with resources and a reputation to protect. By August, my family had given up trying to contact me. They'd moved out of their expensive house into a small apartment. Dad was looking for work, Mom was in therapy. Emma had quit modeling entirely and gotten a job at a retail store. They were living the life I'd lived in my first timeline, struggling, overlooked, disappointed. And I was living the life Emma had lived, successful, admired, fulfilled. The reversal was complete. Grandpa died on September 15th, exactly 8 months after his diagnosis and 2 months before his predicted death date. I held his hand as he took his last breath, and his final words were, "So proud of you, my girl. So proud." I inherited everything: his fortune, approximately $50 million after taxes, his estate, his business holdings, his entire legacy. The will was airtight. Dad tried to contest it, but he had no case. At 19 years old, I was worth over $52 million. The funeral was small. I invited only people who'd actually known and loved Grandpa. My parents and Emma were explicitly uninvited. When they showed up anyway, security escorted them out. "You've taken everything from us," Dad screamed as security dragged him away. "But everything." "No," I called back. "I took nothing from you. You threw me away, and I built my own empire from the scraps. That's not theft, that's survival." The last time I saw any of them was at that funeral, being removed from the property while I stood tall and dry-eyed, surrounded by people who actually cared about me. 5 years later, I'm 23 years old, the age I died in my first life. But this timeline is nothing like that one. I'm the CEO of my own media company, managing a portfolio of influencers and helping them build sustainable careers. My book is a bestseller and required reading in several business schools. I've been featured in Forbes 30 Under 30, Times Next Generation Leaders, and countless other publications. My net worth is $200 million through careful investments and business ventures. I'm engaged to a wonderful person who loves me for me, not for my money or fame. I have friends who are genuine, a career I'm passionate about, and a life I've built entirely on my own terms. I never reconciled with my family. Emma reached out once, 2 years ago, sending an email that said simply, "I'm sorry, you were right about everything." I never responded. Some bridges, once burned, should stay ashes. Mom and Dad are still together, still struggling. Dad never rebuilt his business. Mom never returned to modeling, even in a coaching capacity. They live in a small apartment and work ordinary jobs, all the glamour and promise of their early lives faded away. Emma works in marketing now. She's reportedly good at it, but she'll never be famous. She'll never be special. She's just ordinary. The golden child who had everything handed to her and couldn't hold on to any of it. Sometimes people ask if I feel guilty about how things turned out, if I regret the choices I made, the ways I fought back, the public nature of my revenge. I don't, not even a little bit, because here's what I learned from dying and being reborn. Life is too short to sacrifice yourself for people who don't value you. Family is supposed to be about love and support, not exploitation and neglect. And sometimes the best revenge isn't a dramatic confrontation. It's simply living well. I didn't destroy my family. I freed myself from their destruction. I didn't steal Emma's opportunities. I created my own while she squandered hers. I didn't manipulate my grandfather. I loved him genuinely and he loved me back. Everything I have, I earned. Everything I've built, I created with my own hands. And if my family's downfall was a consequence of my success, well, that's what happens when you bet everything on the wrong daughter. I woke up today in my penthouse apartment, the one I bought with my own money, decorated with my own taste, filled with people I chose to love. I looked in the mirror and saw the woman I became instead of the woman I was supposed to be. My smile is still perfect. My teeth are still straight. And every time I see my reflection, I remember the moment that changed everything. When they canceled my braces appointment for Emma and I decided to get veneers instead. That was the moment I stopped being their victim and became my own hero. And I've been winning ever since. I opened my laptop and checked my calendar. I have a speaking engagement at a business school today. Ironically, the same school Emma dropped out of when she couldn't afford tuition. I'm giving a lecture on building businesses from the ground up, on creating value from nothing, on betting on yourself when no one else will. The title of my talk? Against All Odds, How I Turned Neglect into Empire. I'm going to tell a room full of eager students about my journey, about the family that overlooked me, about the grandfather who saved me, about the career I built with my own hands, and when someone asks the inevitable question, do you think you'd be as successful if your family had supported you? I'll give them my honest answer. No, if they'd supported me, I would have been comfortable. Comfortable people don't build empires. Desperate people do. My family didn't give me support, but they gave me something better. They gave me hunger. They taught me that no one was coming to save me, that I had to save myself. And that lesson, that made me unstoppable. It's not the answer they expect. They want me to say I succeeded despite my family, not because of them. But the truth is more complicated than that. My family's neglect didn't make me successful. My refusal to accept that neglect did. My decision to fight back, to claim what was mine, to build instead of breaking, that's what made me successful. And I'll spend the rest of my life teaching others to do the same. Because here's the final truth I learned from living twice. You can't control how people treat you, but you can control how you respond. You can stay small, stay quiet, stay the victim. Or you can rise up, claim your power, and become the hero of your own story. I chose to rise, and I've never looked back. I smile at my reflection one more time, that perfect, hard-earned smile, and head out to face another day of the empire I built from their neglect. After all, someone once said, the best revenge is living well. They were wrong. The best revenge is becoming everything they said you couldn't be, living the life they tried to deny you, and watching them realize, too late, that they bet on the wrong daughter. And I'm living that revenge every single day. Perfect.